We're still looking at the fuel scarcity plaguing the nation, the discoordination when it comes to the price of fuel, and also the non-availability of products, as we've seen. We'll be joined this morning by public affairs analyst and politician Akin Bashiru. Good morning, sir. We hope that you had fuel on your way to get to the studio. Was it a bit of a hassle?
Yeah, naturally, yeah, a bit of hassle. In fact, we had to navigate through inner roads to get to this place, and that's because of the long queues that have dotted the landscape. So it's really tough out there.
It does seem that fuel scarcity has become the order of the day. We haven't, if you look at this year, we've had several repeated incidences of fuel, even since last year, fuel scarcity feels like almost every month. Once there's been a bit of calm, Nigerians should be wary because there's going to be another fuel scarcity situation looming around the corner. It's hard enough that Nigerians have to pay really exorbitant prices. We don't even know if fuel subsidy is really, has really ended because of the several speculations we're hearing around the corners. And we hope that maybe you can give us further insight to that. But what does this say of, where we are as a nation? What does this say of the current administration and how it's handled challenges, especially in the oil sector?
Anyway, it's quite unfortunate that we're experiencing all this kind of disruption. And like you've rightly said, it has been, relief, at some point, and before you know it, another crisis comes up. But for me, I think it addresses the fundamental issues that have bedeviled the oil industry. I mean, it's regrettable that as a nation where we have crude, we still have to import fuel. And the moment you depend on importation, you're going to experience this. But I think since the current administration on board, for me, the disruption, though it was frequent, but I think for me, I would say it's more of sabotage. Take, for example, the crisis recently between Dangote. I mean, Nigeria has put in so much money to refine petrol locally that every Nigerian would look up to serve as a savior for us. You can imagine the statements coming from NNPC, trying to demarket, this great effort of a Nigerian to make fuel available. So for me, I think it goes beyond the ordinary. I think there are, individuals or institutions or systems within the oil industry that is not happy, that does not want Nigeria to produce and refine oil.
That includes the NNPC.
Yes, yeah, that includes the NNPC, because even from the reaction of the managing director and of course the gentleman who is in charge of is it upstream and downstream sector, the regulator. I mean, you will know that definitely there is more to it than
we have a minister for petroleum. Do you expect that he understands exactly what needs to be done?
The minister of petroleum, for me, is an administrator, and his experience as far as understanding the nitty-gritty of the oil industry, I can't really say. You understand? Because it is an entrenched system that the current administration, for me, is trying to upset. And in a normal system, you have a lot of people who would definitely want to fight back. And if there's any entrenched cabal in any of our public institutions, I think NNPC is definitely a very strong one. So I would expect that the Minister of Petroleum Resources, in the last month that he's been there, by now should have a good understanding.
The president is the president himself is the substantive minister of petroleum. Akin Bashiru is the Minister of State for Petroleum. Yeah. So whose responsibility would you say that this is?
The responsibility for me, it's a collective responsibility, and that's the truth. Even if the president is the minister, I'm sure he has two ministers of state, junior ministers. Yeah. You understand? And you also have the establishment. I mean, the professionals who are in the industry. So everybody, should take part of the blame for whatever we are currently experiencing. But the fact really remains that even whatever experience the president might have had, the nitty-gritty in that industry is such that, an executive order or a fiat directive cannot, solve that problem. It will require getting to the root. It's going to require a lot of things.
Yeah,
You recall that Sanusi Lamido Sanusi has always been an advocate of auditing, investigating the petroleum industry. You know, he has always shouted about that.
Who else would we expect to have the powers and the political will and the wherewithal to carry out these investigations and to go to the nitty-gritty like you've described, if not Mr. President? He of course, is Minister for Petroleum. So who would we expect? And just bear in mind that we're talking about a country that continues to have its crude oil stolen in hundreds of thousands of barrels, according to the NSA and other high-ranking ministers who have stated that Nigeria's crude is still being stolen. 400, 700,000 barrels are being stolen every year. So we have that situation. We have a situation where the president, of course, you know, when he came into office, announced the end of, you know, a fuel subsidy. Today, there are claims that Nigeria is still paying subsidy, even paying more than we used to pay before the president announced the end of fuel subsidy. Does this all paint to you like there's somebody who's truly in charge and somebody who's truly in control of the petroleum industry in Nigeria?
Yeah, let me say that first and foremost, the buck stops on Mr. President's table. That's a fact in every situation in the country. But the fact also remains there are also individuals, you know, who are involved. Fine, Mr. President can order investigation. He won't carry it out himself. Okay. And ordering investigation does not mean that you get, I mean, the investigation, when it's even done, is going to be done within one day. It's a system that has been there over the years and will require some time. I know that even the National Assembly has also come to say that they're going to investigate it. And if the Right Honorable Speaker of the House could lead a delegation to Dangote, you know, refinery, it tells you the high level of interest that the current government has in it. So investigation will have to be ordered by Mr. President. Of course, it's going to take some time. But the fact remains now that it can no longer be, I mean, it can no longer be the same as far as this industry is concerned. Dangote is not happy that he's been demarketed, he's been discouraged. You know, Nigerians are not happy. And I think at this point, both the media and the general public will have a role to play. We need to make noise about this. We need to expose people who are behind, who are trying to frustrate the patriotic effort of Aliko Dangote. Because if it can refine our crude oil in Nigeria, it means there's going to be a reduction in the interim, and of course, ultimately, it's stopping to importation of fuel.
Would you be amongst these Nigerians who would call or, you know, state it clearly that Mr. President has failed if at the end of maybe another 1 year, we still don't see any headway with the petroleum industry? We don't see the reduction in the stealing of Nigeria's crude. We don't see any clarity with whether Nigeria is paying subsidy or not. We don't see any clarity with regards Dangote himself. Would you be in front and say that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has failed as Minister of Petroleum?
Yeah. Let me say this. I think we need to realize the fact that even the president is not sleeping now. The kind of onslaught against those who are stealing at Petrol, you see that is on the rise. There are activities in that regard, okay? But I can assure you of one thing, that Mr. President won't sleep. Even the next 1 year, it's not only going to be me anyway, that things don't get much better than the way they are now. It is natural that Nigerians...
So will you tell him that he has failed?
Sure, I will equally, I want my voice.
All right.
I want my voice, definitely.
All right.
But I can assure you that in the next 1 year, I mean, we'll be happy.
How many people will be left in the next 1 year? If things continue at this rate, how many Nigerians will survive the next 1 year?
I don't know what you mean by I don't know what you mean by things continue this way.
Me.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of how expensive the cost of living is, if there is no immediate intervention, there are people who right now cannot even afford one meal a day. They're struggling. So if it continues like this for the next 1 year, I hope it doesn't in the interest of all of us, that things do get better. But
there's no way it will continue this way. Let's get that. I often ask, I say, okay, when media people, make their submissions, I ask some of them, okay, what do you think are the solutions in the immediate that the current government is not taking cognizance of? Let's look at this. Let's look at the agric industry now. Whether we like it or not, so many activities are going on there.
Right.
But there's no way you invest in agric today and tomorrow you want to reap.
Okay.
All right.
We of course will look forward to talking more about this, and again we'll hold you to your word and look at what the current situation is or what the situation will be in the next 1 year. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
My pleasure.